Pictures podcast.
So how about the USA and Turkey, huh?
That was pretty crazy. When Turkey scored that goal, you thought they would have won it right then and there. You know, you thought that, oh, that was the World Cup. That was the final game. That was it. Everything was on the line. That wasn't the case, but they had fun, you know, and that's what's important.
It was late into injury time too. Do you know soccer a lot? Do you know the rules?
Not
or
enough to no, not enough. I know just barely enough to kind of casually follow along, but I'm nowhere near.
Gotcha. Yeah, I remember you were asking. Yeah, I remember you were like, "Is it? It's not cutthroat at all. This is just purely for bragging rights." But this is why it was kind of exciting because you know,
well,
I genuinely advanced.
I thought that this was the knockout game for the USA.
No.
That's why I thought you were like, oh, I'm watching it, you know, because like, oh yeah, this is the big game, you know, they win or go home. You know?
No. It's literally just bragging rights. They already advanced, but I mean, it's still kind of like a shame that they lost though. Like the people I saw with, like the whole bar, they were really kind of upset at the end.
Well, yeah, but I mean, does it hurt them actually if it doesn't matter?
No, but I mean, they were so deep into the game, and yeah, you're right. Like in hindsight, it really doesn't matter at this point because they already advanced. But it's kind of more like, I mean, it's a World Cup, right? It's like nationalism is a hard word, but patriotism
is what you're looking for.
Yeah. So it would be nice to win.
It's just rooting for your country. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, fortunately for me, I got two teams. I got Mexico and USA. Like you got Japan and USA.
Those two are not the same.
Yeah.
The difference is your backup country is one that's actually really good at soccer.
I mean, Japan was pretty good.
Is it? Okay. I don't think of that, you know. I don't think of Japan as good at soccer, but that could just be me. My ignorance.
They're playing Tunisia and they're pretty good. But yeah. I like how this has become like a little talk about sports and then we'll transition to movies. Yeah, I liked it. It was good. We're talking about the World Cup, of course, but what we're actually going to talk about on another fascinating, thrilling, sensational, controversial episode of Popcorn and Pictures, we're going to be talking about several different movies that are out there. I'm your host, Sam Karpinski, and joined by my handsome, dashing, wonderful co-host, Mr. Jose Mendoza. That's very kind. Thank you. Yes, that's me. But
He's
don't sell yourself short.
I'm too generous.
You're quite handsome too.
Oh, thank you. Well, I know that. You know, I didn't want to just let it. You know, I didn't need to be said by me. You know, it's just kind of a fact. It's like saying water is wet. You know.
Yeah, I saw when I was watching the World Cup, I'm like, oh, there's Sam Karpinski. But you know what? It was Brad Pitt. And then it was Leonardo DiCaprio. It happened twice.
You know, speaking of watching the World Cup, I was watching the Telemundo broadcast on Peacock. Why are you laughing? Get some culture. You know, you can enjoy things in a foreign language, Jose. My gosh. Get with the program. It's 2026. Jeez.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for that, folks. Anyway, I was watching the game on Telemundo through Peacock, and a trailer played. A trailer for the 25th anniversary of The Fast and the Furious. Mm-hmm. And it made The Fast and the Furious look like a good movie, which it's not, you know, but it was a cool trailer, and it got me semi nostalgic for a movie that is a punchline for me.
Never seen before.
You know, like, no, I've seen it. It's a punchline. Yeah. I've seen the first seven Fast and Furious mainline movies, and I saw Hobbs and Shaw.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen. I saw one. It was a high school date, and I think it was Fast 5. But other than that, I'm
gonna be. You best believe I'm gonna finish the saga, as they've said, the saga of the Fast and Furious in time for whatever the final one is called. I forget. It'll have some crazy name like they all do. But I saw that and it made me go like, man, you know what another movie is that's also Furious and is better than the Fast and the Furious? It's The Furious, out in theaters now for domestic audiences. That is, it's a Hong Kong action film, and it's I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you're kind of one of the first guys to introduce me to Hong Kong movies. So why don't you kind of lead in? What's The Furious about, Jose?
Was I? I mean, I like Hong Kong movies.
You were one of the first. Between you and Lucas, you know.
Okay, fair. Yeah, so The Furious. So funny enough, I actually wasn't really planning on watching this until you made a brief mention of it in the last episode. I don't even think we're recording. I think you just brought it up, but like after we recorded. And the day I went to go see it, I think it was a Tuesday, or maybe even Monday, because I remember paying full price for it. But besides the point, I remember
money well spent, folks.
Indeed. Yeah, actually, good point. $15 worth every penny. On my way to the movie, I already had my mindset on watching The Furious, but I was kind of wanting to watch Disclosure Day or Scary Movie. I probably won't get around to Scary Movie, but something was just calling my name.
Probably
for
the best.
True. And I decided to go watch The Furious. And it was cool because I'm like a walking distance to the movies. As I was walking there, some guy pulls up.
Brag.
And yeah. And
yeah,
he's wearing
technically I am too.
But this is cool because it was I'm gonna get there. He was like an Asian guy. He was wearing like a martial arts shirt. Like I think he was a fighter somewhere. Like he trains.
Like he had a gi on.
His shirt said like a gym of some sort, like martial arts gym.
Okay, yeah. So it was just a T-shirt with the logo of whatever his school is.
Yeah. And this was out in the street, like blocks away, and I'm noticing like he's in front of me the whole time up until we get to the room, and he's watching the same movie I am. I'm like, that is so funny. But the movie, it's about The Furious. Yeah, it's a Hong Kong movie, basically about a father who loses his daughter to some what do you call that? Like, I guess like a villain organization where they abduct children.
Yeah, I mean it's basically some sort of criminal cartel that's engaging in human trafficking.
Yeah, human trafficking. There you go. And it's just his pursuit on getting his daughter back, and that's basically all it is. But what drives the movie is Hong Kong. They're known for kung fu, and it's just like the most batshit
that's
crazy.
The impetus of the movie, and then he crosses paths with another character whose wife has been either abducted or killed. He's not sure in the movie by the same criminal organization. So they end up teaming up, and of course, both of them are fantastic martial artists, you know, and know their stuff.
I think the main story, though, that you're more invested in, maybe I'm wrong, but I think for sure it's the daughter and the father relationship. I mean, they have a cool character dynamic, the father and like his combat partner that they end up like teaming up together, his teammate, if you want to call it that. I almost want to say, which I know isn't the case, but I almost want to say that storyline was introduced just to kind of, I feel like we live in a day and age where you have to be quick with catching people's attention, because the movie starts off with the other guy's wife, who is presumably kidnapped or killed. Like, I guess it's revealed late in the movie, which we're not going to spoil quite yet. But
okay, you didn't spoil anything. I wanted to make sure you get a spoiler warning in there. I'm glad you didn't.
No spoiler yet.
Thank you.
I think that opening scene was just kind of engage people. Like, okay, this is the movie you're here to watch. And it's like the craziest kung fu battle. And then the rest of the movie is just that too. I've heard people compare it to The Raid, which I haven't seen.
We should probably both correct that. I have actually a mutual friend of ours who watched The Raid after watching The Furious. So
is it similar? I never seen The Raid. I don't know what that is like.
I mean, I don't, not similar in terms of the story, but similar, just like a gonzo all out action film.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I think it was also Hong Kong as well.
Maybe. I'm not too sure about that.
See.
But I was telling my brother that, yeah, you look into that. I was telling my brother, like, I was really hyped for him to watch it. Okay, see, I thought it was Korean. I was off myself too. But I compared it to kind of Fury Road in the sense that, yeah, the action is different. You know, we got like car chases and kung fu, but it's similar in the sense that, you know, once the ball gets going, it's just nonstop of the action that you want to see, you know? And I feel like we're not selling it because, you know, it is kung fu, which I know is kind of like a niche thing, especially in today's audience. But in my review, I said like people are doing some crazy like there's some crazy athleticism on display.
Well, there's just it's not just that they're doing the form, you know, of like kung fu. It's that they're combining it with just general athleticism.
Yeah.
That's just a treat to watch. Like, just see these guys like clearly like very fit, you know, very athletically talented, you know, and just going about, you know, the fight choreography and just showing off. It's fun. And I mean, it's like genuinely like this is, I mean, a quasi spoiler, I guess, but the film is not like grounded in the sense that like, oh, things that you think will kill one character doesn't do that. He immediately gets back up like, you know, a few minutes later or whatever, you know, but you're just kind of along for the ride. It's one of those movies you kind of turn your brain off to a certain degree because you're appreciating the movie is there to showcase the choreography and the athleticism of the performers. The story is there just to kind of serve as a vehicle for that, which, you know, there's some people who would definitely critique that. And, you know, depending on how well the other elements of the film are done, you absolutely should. But in this case, the fight, you know, the action just kind of overwhelms everything else, like most Hong Kong films. But it's just fun, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say too. Yeah, right. There's a lot of like suspend your disbelief. There you go.
Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, suspension of disbelief.
Suspension of belief, I should say.
Of belief, yeah. That's why I'm like, what is? Anyways, but that's how most Hong Kong movies are. You know, they're very campy. This one feels a little bit more grounded in reality. But the thing is, when things happen, it's like, you know, like, oh, this character should be dead. You know, it's forgiving because you know it's like campy. There's some level of campiness in this movie, not outrageously campy like those old Hong Kong movies that were from the '90s or whenever those came out, but it feels edgy, it feels grounded, but at the same time, it is really fun because it just embraces that nature of campiness. Really, is what it is.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's a good like gateway movie to people who aren't familiar with Hong Kong films. You know, kind of the general vibe of those. You know, it's like, okay, you know, if you enjoy this movie, it's a pretty solid film, all things considered. It's fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and it gives you kind of a glimpse into kind of like how Hong Kong movies are, just in a general rule, how crazy they can get. I think it's a good like, oh, this would be like a good Hong Kong film, you know, first Hong Kong film for you. So definitely worth checking out in theaters, I say.
Yeah, definitely. In my review, I kind of, when I was watching the movie, it reminded me a lot of like other kind of lesser movies, but they're not trying to do the same thing, but there's like kind of elements that felt similar. So if I can, I'm just going to kind of say what, like, you know, we saw Sound of Freedom together, which I know is like a very different movie. Like they're not trying to do the same thing.
That was a wild call out in your review.
Yeah, but
I read that. Like, I was like, "What? Where did that come from?" but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, you know, both movies are about like kind of saving kidnapped children, human trafficked children. Sound of Freedom is certainly, you know, it's based off a true story, so there's like some level of, I guess, like, you know, it's grounded in reality. But the nobility and charisma with the main character on a rescue mission is way more compelling in this film than I felt with Sound of Freedom. When I saw John Wick later in my life. It wasn't something that I was like a huge fan of when it first came out. And the way people were hyping that movie up, which I will admit there is cool action sequences in those films. It's kind of like more the simple premise and just like the action packed sequences is what I was what I thought John Wick was going to be. The Furious was kind of that, but like that's what I was expecting from that movie. a movie that came out recently was like Mortal Kombat, which again, these are all very different movies, what they're trying to achieve. But the way like modern Hollywood blockbuster movies present action sequences is like nowhere near to this level. Like, like,
oh yeah. Yeah.
Like you mentioned choreography. That's what I was going to mention earlier. Like aside from the athleticism, just like the amount of choreography that it took to execute these scenes is just so impressive
without everybody dying.
Basically, yeah.
Like you have to have the level of skill coupled with control to be able to pull off all those moves without fully and convincingly looking like you are pounding the guy into sand without actually doing that, is amazing in and of itself.
I saw this movie with like my room was full of guys, like men. I'm literally talking about like boys.
Glad you clarified. Yeah. I wouldn't have known what you meant with guys, So
I guess.
I'm glad you clarified men.
There was one female in the theater. That's kind of besides the point, but
there was one. There was female representation in his screening. There was,
and she came with her boyfriend. I'm imagining the boyfriend wanted to see the movie, but there were.
That's assuming a lot. Maybe she's a big fan of Hong Kong movies.
He looked pretty jacked. I felt like he was like a gym guy.
You're making a lot of gross assumptions, Jose. But I'll let that slide. Let's go on.
I mean, I don't know what your theater was like, but my movie was literally like kind of what. It was just like people like kind of, I don't want to say pointing at the screen, but it was like when something happened, it was like cheering,
Yeah.
It was like laughing, chuckling.
There was definitely a little bit of that. There were, unfortunately, in the same row as me and my friends who saw it with me, was a group on the other end who wouldn't stop talking throughout the movie. So my friend who was closest to them finally said something to them, and they quit for a little bit, and then they went back to their usual shenanigans. And thankfully, honestly, of all the movies to see, it was probably like one of the better ones, just because there's so much action. It's not like a dialogue driven movie, it could still fall along easily, but it was annoying. Yeah.
I groaned, but I could kind of I could see this being a movie where that's disrespectful, don't get me wrong, but it is like a fun movie. Like if we were watching this like with our friends like in a room, I think we would be doing the same thing. Like, oh, that was so cool or something, I don't know what they were saying, but
they were talking about stuff not related to the movie.
Okay,
yeah, they were going like, gasping or like, oh, whoa, or that was so sick. That would be one thing. Cause it's like, oh, you're having a genuine reaction to the movie. They were just talking about things that didn't apply to the movie.
Okay, yeah, that's different then. That's different. No, my theater was like a lot of like people who just like went to go see it by themselves, myself included. So yeah, there was a lot of like, you see something and you're like, oh man, like it was cool. What comes to my mind is there's a scene where the protagonist, the father, is like kind of like climbing a pyramid of people and just like cart rolling over them, like trying to escape them. I'm not sure if you remember that, but that was like when I'm like, okay, this is special. This is really cool.
It was, I'm trying to remember. There was a moment like that. It didn't really take me by surprise because, I've seen a few now to know like, oh, nothing's off the table. I'm trying to remember what it was, but it caused all the people who were with me to audibly gasp, like just because they couldn't believe they did that, And gosh, I can't remember what it was. That's so annoying.
It is one of those movies, where it's like you gasp at like what you're saying for sure. Not gasp, but I guess like chuckle or cheer at what you're saying. I'm sorry, I interrupted. I'm not sure if you're going somewhere with that.
That was basically the bit. I don't need to rant to the listeners about my problematic theatrical experience. I did, my friend who was with me, he had seen Knives Out and wrote in his, or not Knives Out, Wake Up Dead Man, and had wrote in his review like that somebody in front of him was like talking the whole time through. And he was like, but I watched a movie that would be no better message than to practice forgiveness on this person. So he said the opposite for this. He said, this is the opposite of that. I wanted to pound these people to smithereens.
That's so funny. The top Letterboxd review for a while was like, I wanted to fight the first person I saw as I left the movie theater. It is kind of one of those movies. It is like adrenaline fueling. I'm not condoning violence, but the sentiment is still true though.
Jose Mendoza does not condone any violence of any kind.
Nope. I am a pacifist in every way. He's
a pacifist in every way.
I save spiders. I don't kill them.
It's true.
I will say, I noticed you gave it a 7 out of 10 though. And I think I know why. Because I gave it a 7 out of 10 too. What's your,
there are two things. There were two things. One is the script just in and of itself is not that great.
Yeah,
that's fine. It gives it. It's kind of like an American example would be like Bullet Train, right? Like Bullet Train is just dumb fun. It's there to serve a purpose for action. That's it. It's not really meant to do anything else. It's fun. And there's some stuff like genuinely it's entertaining, the script, because of some of the crazy stuff that happens in the story, but it's not like a well-written script per se. It's not, and then also bizarrely the dubbing, there was like inconsistent dubbing, which I think partially was because some actors could speak English fluently and others couldn't. But it just created this really weird effect where it just kind of like clearly there was some horrible dubbing with certain characters and then not any at all. And in like the same scene.
Yeah.
And it just was very distracting.
Okay. So I'm not disagreeing with you. Like that was present and in a way it took me out of the movie. But it made me wonder if that was kind of paying tribute to old Hong Kong kung fu movies, because they used to do that all the time. So there was a part of me where it's like, okay, is that a film goof or is that intentional? I think it's a film goof. Like, maybe the dubbing wasn't the best. They probably couldn't have done it better, but I think they weren't trying their best to fix that just because it kind of fits to what that style of filmmaking is back in those days. I feel like it's almost like a stylistic approach. Yeah.
Sure. I don't think it was, but sure, whatever. And it honestly, it made the experience more entertaining in some ways. So, I think it's fun. Did you have anything more to say on it?
Well, I was going to say, I do agree with the, your other criticism though. Like when I was watching the movie, I was like, dude, this is like a 9 out of 10 movie, like for sure. But then after I left it, I'm like, you know what? Like, it would have been nice if the script was a little bit more. I'm not asking for like, a movie that's going to make me reconsider my life, but, or like make me think of like profound thoughts. But it would have been nice if the script was a little bit more nuanced, I guess, or maybe just like kind of, it would have been nice if we had like an equally compelling story, just as much as we got like a compelling fight sequence, So I guess that is kind of my big criticism. It would have been nice to get an even better story to complement all this, but that's not really what the movie is, like that'd be a plus, but it was satisfying as it is.
Yeah. And something that's kind of just a weird side tangent that's kind of charming to me is I think like most people who watch those movies, and I noticed this in the critic reviews, like are fully on board with that. Like they know what they're getting into and they're not like looking to like pick it apart, like, oh, this was wrong, this was done, or this could have been done better. They're just there for the ride. So it feels like it really does kind of hit that niche audience and performs up to the audience expectations. So fan service in a way.
My last quick comment, just because it's one of those movies, you have to ask, what was your favorite fight sequence? You have to have one, right?
Probably. Shoot, that's hard. Honestly, I think just because I like the atmosphere of it, the ambiance, the nightclub fight scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that, but also the scene where he's like chasing the criminals, like it's like a pickup truck or something, like a garbage truck is what it was. That's when I was like, okay, this is gonna be something special for sure. My last criticism too, now I think about it, it's almost a little too exhausting by the end of the movie. I remember like that last fight sequence, it is a climax, but I was kind of like checked out. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of ready for this to end. It felt like it dragged on a little too long, but that's it. That's all I have to say.
Well, I'm gonna transition into another picture, but first I do want to say that to make sure to give a shout out to the AMC MacGuffin Bar. I had the Pour of Power. And yes, I was not watching He-Man or Masters of the Universe. You might be wondering, why haven't we talked about Masters of the Universe? Isn't that a movie that's out? Isn't that a film people are watching? And you know what? You would be half right. The movie is out, but people are not watching it.
No,
it's bombing.
No one's watching it.
It's bombing. And, you know, I don't necessarily like to be like, I'm not going to go see a movie just because nobody's watching it. But I just don't care about this movie, and nothing anybody or anyone has done or said has made me be like, I need to go check this movie. But I did want to try the Pour of Power. And you know what? The Pour of Power was all right. It could have definitely been a lot better. It was pretty mediocre. It kind of felt like a cheap tie-in, much like what that film's existence feels like. So I guess in that respect, it feels good. So I had the Pour of Power. You know, funny story though, Jose, is I was actually planning on watching the Pour or drinking the Pour of Power with Disclosure Day. However, I actually got the extraterrestrial tonic, which I didn't know they had a tie-in for Disclosure Day, but they did. So I had the extraterrestrial tonic with Disclosure Day instead. And so that's why I postponed the Pour of Power to the Furious, which, you know, given the fists that were being rained down in the Furious, I feel like it was still fitting to have the Pour of Power with the Furious. But the extraterrestrial tonic was pretty solid, honestly. It was good. The movie itself, Disclosure Day, well, let's talk about that.
Before we do, I have to know, because this is the second time you mentioned these cocktails. What was the best so far? Because then you had 3. You had the Star Wars one, you had this one. And
the hyperspace punch from Star Wars was the best so far. I've had other ones in the past, but I've just now kind of started like I should be taking note of these to like really like figure out like, because they're all just like, you know, cheap cocktail infusions. You know, it's not like they're gonna blow me away. But if someone comes around that is genuinely really good, I'll do it. I had the Avatar ones. The Avatar one was actually pretty good. I had the fire version. I forget what it was called, but that was good.
You're making me so jealous. My go-to is a Guinness every time, because, you know, my rock scene has nothing besides
that's cute.
I'm a Guinness guy.
You know, you should come down to Hollywood every now and then and maybe enjoy a sip of something like the Pour of Power, or get a little extraterrestrial tonic in you. Or maybe go off to hyperspace with hyperspace punch.
I heard these cocktails have something. That's how King Parsons was able to make Backrooms. You know, he just drinks. There's something in the water. You know.
I mean, I can neither confirm nor deny that my next film was partially inspired by thoughts after drinking the Pour of Power.
Anyways, Disclosure Day. Let's talk about it.
Disclosure Day. So Steven Spielberg's first movie since Fabelmans, right? Fabelmans, and more hyped because it's his first kind of more blockbuster-esque movie in a while. And most specifically, it goes back to a subject he's quite famous for with Close Encounters of the Third Kind and E.T., aliens, obviously, or extraterrestrials.
Yeah,
is really his preferred terminology for it. And it's about literally disclosing the existence of aliens. That's kind of what drives the movie and kind of the what will affect. Kind of. So, I mean, I don't know. Do we want to just start getting into it right away, or do we want to go a little bit more overview of the movie? Because I think we should maybe just put a big spoiler warning, because I feel like it's impossible to talk about all the issues I have with the movie without spoiling some of it.
Yeah, I mean, we could, before we do, I mean, you kind of touched on it already. Like, yes, I feel like this movie was on a lot of people's radars just because, yes, Steven Spielberg does have that reputation of, I mean, he needs no introduction, you know, like Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, if you don't know. So yeah, there was a lot of hype just because, you know, this wouldn't be his first time making an alien movie. And I think people like me, people like us, I feel like, were excited that this might be a movie kind of back to his roots. And in a way, it felt like that for me. I think that's actually why I enjoyed it more than you. Just because this kind of scratched the itch that I was hoping for from Spielberg in a very long time. But I get the criticisms though. Like I've heard it all already for the most part, and I see them and I recognize them and I acknowledge them. But I think I've been just so deprived of like that touch that Spielberg used to have that I think I just like I'm seeing this movie with like rose tinted glasses, you know?
Yeah, so let's talk about like
Let's talk about it.
Spielberg still. So I'm gonna come off very negative on this movie because I am very negative on the movie. Frankly, I'm not trying to hide that. But to your point, Spielberg is still in certain aspects at the top of his game. Like there's some really well shot sequences that are just like, oh, that's good. You know, that's just, oh, that's really cool. You know, what he did with the camera or with this shot, you know. But that's kind of all there is for me in this film. There are some good performances, but the problem is the script, and the script just gives it just there's so many different plot points that the script raises and introduces that are interesting, and you think they're going to go somewhere, and then they don't go anywhere. And it's just like, why? You know, we spent the whole movie, without getting too far into the third act, you spend the whole movie thinking it's going a particular way or it's building to this moment. And then the moment arrives and it's just one of the most anticlimactic sequences I've ever seen in a movie, honestly.
Okay. See, the thing is, I don't see it like that. I think it's just like a matter of like we're just gonna have to agree to disagree.
Hate.
What, hate the movie? I didn't hate the movie. I mean, I was.
I shouldn't say that. I don't hate the movie. I was more just baffled by the movie.
Yeah, that's the thing. I guess I was. I was trying to touch up on this on my last when I last comment I made, but I'm pulling my Letterboxd just because I want to like kind of paraphrase what I said, but like, yeah, I feel like Spielberg has, multiple different chapters in his career, right? The one that is the most beloved is that initial phase where he was like basically from Duel, which I haven't seen, but like that's like Jaws, Jurassic Park, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That's like the most like whimsical films that he made, like definitely defined an era of cinema. The second phase was kind of like more grounded in reality, and it definitely has like a look that was achieved, like a very much a style that was his. Kind of started with like Saving Private Ryan. Minority Report is another example. War of the Worlds, and then in this final phase, I've heard people call him like a sellout, right? Like he's just kind of making movies that are appealing for a lot of people and almost like guaranteed like Oscar nominations, but they feel very lazy, at least compared to what he used to be known for. I think what I enjoyed about this most was like this felt like a nice combination of his first two phases. It had the presentation of that second phase that he achieved, but it still kind of had that like whimsical. Maybe whimsical isn't the right word, but it has like that same spirit that the early movies had. I feel like he could have made this movie back in the 90s when he was in his peak, and it would have, with a little tinkering with the story, I think it would have worked well. I don't know. I kind of just enjoyed it for what it was. It just reminded me of what I wanted of a Spielberg film.
Yeah, I mean, sure. There's aspects like, you can say it's kind of a return to his roots. It's more, that return to kind of more blockbuster, mythologizing filmmaking, building a myth. But it just doesn't stick the landing. And even before it doesn't stick the landing, there's just so many different things. I mean, I think the one that's most egregious to me, I don't want to nitpick every single thing in the movie that I had an issue with. The one that's most egregious with me from a plot, from a writing standpoint, is juxtaposed with a very cool technical thing. So the scene when Josh O'Connor is sneaking up behind the governmental organization, goons. There's like a drone, basically a Spielberg drone shot that's done really, really well. How it's tracking Josh O'Connor, like as he's sneaking up behind, and it's done really well, and it's appreciative. it's also the most idiotic thing based on what the things going on in the movie that he would be able to sneak up on people that easily, let alone steal a car with an open car door in the same sequence and then get away. It's crazy. It's just so lazy, and I don't know. I almost felt insulted by it, but that's just me. And I know Spielberg himself didn't write the script, so I can't blame it all on him, but he's still the director. He can see how some of this is looking or unfolding in real time, that maybe the screenwriter can't, and tweak things. And he didn't.
You're right. And at the end of that sequence too, what felt insulting too, I agree. Like I said, I see these criticisms. At the end of that sequence, they managed to get rid of the car, and the goons are like kind of looking at where the car landed or like where it ended up being. I'm trying to be as vague as possible without spoiling it. But then Josh O'Connor and his friend, I don't know what the actress's name was, they're like hiding behind a rock, and they get up and they walk away, like feet away from the goons. You would think they would hear their footsteps or anything.
Eve Hewson,
yeah. There's, again, I get it, and I want to say too. Again, I see the criticisms, but kind of the thing is, I'm like okay with it. Like I know that's weird because like I'm more forgiving with this movie, but I think what I enjoyed most out of it was I kind of see how Spielberg feels like a sellout in his later movies. But this felt like, he actually had a little bit more passion, a little bit more to say, which I'm able, and I'm not, that's in most cases, like, that's not cool, right? Like you should be able to make a good movie out of it. But I just feel like it was, I don't know. I think that's just what it comes down to. I'm a Spielberg fan, and I saw what he did. I will say though, the biggest, like, as I let the movie simmer in my head, I mean, there's a lot of things wrong with the movie. One thing I acknowledge was, which I'm going to just spoil it right here, so everyone be warned. Fast forward 10 seconds, 20 seconds. But the whole movie is like them trying to reveal that there's aliens through like data, like videos, archive videos, through like just what do you call them? Like memory sticks or whatever.
Yeah, the thumb drives are basically
thumb drives,
sticks.
Yeah. But
which is funny in and of itself, but I won't.
They looked really funny, yeah.
I won't go off on that either.
But at the same, which, I will say that's the thing too. It feels like the movie does feel like a little out of touch with the times in many ways, but that's besides the point. The whole movie is revealing that there's aliens through archive footage and stuff. But at the end, it's revealed that Coleman Domingo, who we haven't mentioned once, he's partnering with Josh O'Connor, that he had an alien the whole time in his possession. It's like, why did you have to go through all this if you had the alien? Wasn't that enough? Like, couldn't you create like a little petting zoo and be like, look, we have an alien.
Step right up, kids. Pet the alien.
Yeah, it was like I'm like,
that would be a more interesting movie if the movie had been revolving around Coleman Domingo setting up a meet and greet for a price with the alien. And seeing people's reactions to that would be a funnier and more interesting movie.
Which is kind of what E.T. is in a way. In some ways, it's definitely more in that nature. But another thing too is like, again, going back to like, it feels like it's out of touch. Like, is news coverage of aliens like kind of the best way to reveal that there's aliens? I mean, we lived through COVID. You would know immediately. No, I'm not trying to make it too political, but you would know. The moment that got revealed, the scene kind of like shows like, oh, everyone's in unison. They're like all have the same mindset. Like we're not alone, and they're all in awe and stuff. If that took place in the real world, you would know there's going to be like two different parties. Like, no, this is all a conspiracy or something.
Just to drive that point home, the movie's backdrop is World War III imminent. That's the movie's backdrop, is that World War III is about to happen. Like it's like any day now things are going to break out, and like explicit. That was more interesting to me than wondering how World War III was getting going. Now that's just me. Maybe it's just because I'm, a news junkie and political science guy, but that was more interesting to me than anything else going on in the movie. And yeah, I was thinking the same thing. It feels a little dated that they're going to this news organization or news channel and trying to have it to where it broadcasts on all these news feeds. And sure, they show like people watching it on their phones and stuff, but it just feels like, really, that's where you were first posted? Like, why wouldn't you just drop it, I don't know, on Reddit or something? It'll spread like wildfire, So, and even beyond that, let's say, okay, they still do that. It's also, all these reporters are just gonna take it with a grain of salt. I think they give like some throwaway line to them, like verifying it, but there's no way you could verify the credibility of those videos in that short amount of a time. It's crazy.
You're talking about the AI. Like, is this AI?
Yeah, that's it. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, okay. I couldn't remember what it was. That also felt very cringe. It was like, oh my gosh, I mean, don't get me wrong. It would be a natural like thing to ask, like, oh, is this AI in the world we live in right now? But it's just done so clunkily, and in context of everything else, it's like, why? Why?
That insert of that comment about AI was like, well, how are we gonna, get around this? Like, people are gonna ask, like, in this world, aren't they like, oh, isn't that AI? The way they addressed it was kind of like, oh no, it's grounded pixels, is what they say. And it's funny because like, what the? It was happened so fast. It was almost like designed for the audience not to ask questions about that. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's grounded pixels, but no thought put into that. But when you think about it for a second, like, what the fuck is grounded pixels? Like, what does that mean? It was pretty funny.
Yeah. Also, I could go into a million directions. I need to stop myself because the friend I saw it with, we were watching the movie. And actually, really funny, just a quick aside, a fun. This is one of those fun things that only happens in the theater. Bonding, bonding of a certain kind can only happen in the theater. And during the main car chase sequence in the film, there's an insert of one of the chasees, I guess, one of the caravan of cars chasing after Josh O'Connor. And his girlfriend in the movie, and they knock something over into the path of the cars chasing them, and it does this insert of the guy driving the car going, throws his hands up, goes, like, yeah, but like in the most terrible acting possible, and so clearly an insert. Something that wasn't like film, that me and my friend, we both laughed out loud at the same time at that. So that was fun. That was, it felt like something I would be watching like in like an amateur film, or something I would throw into a short or something you or I would create just for fun, just because it was funny.
No, that's fair. I remember thinking that too. Two more things that like took me out of the movie.
Yeah.
Sorry,
go for it. No. I'll jump off of you.
I didn't notice this until after the movie, but like, I didn't realize how like star-studded this film is. But like, Colin Firth is in the movie. He has like a little alien device, which if he squeezes or something, he's able to like, basically take over someone's mind. There's a scene where they get, again, spoilers, like major spoilers. We're kind of in that territory now. So
spoilers.
But, there's that scene where Josh O'Connor gets captured, but like literally the scene before, Colin Firth just kidnapped the mind of his friend, and then he's like, "Where's the data?" It's like, did you just kidnap the mind of someone? Like, why aren't you seeing where that's at? Clearly, it'd be with her, right? If you have Josh O'Connor and he doesn't have the data, then who's possibly going to have it? You just took over her brain. Why don't you see where she's at? Or better yet, take her brain and just like make her walk to where you're at and hand it over. And then secondly, too, another thing that took me out of the movie was when Colin Firth is like realizing that Coleman Domingo is also involved with like this, I guess like this data breach.
Actually, like an activist organization trying to reveal the existence of the aliens.
Well, no, he was. I think he worked for the same. organization.
Oh, you're talking about. Yeah. I'm sorry. You're talking about his employment. Yeah, he worked for the same organization.
And apparently, everyone who worked with Colin Farrell also worked with this, like alien organization. did I say Colin
You
Farrell?
said Farrell.
Didn't I?
Yeah, yeah.
My bad. Colin Firth. Those who work under him right now were former employees for this organization, this extraterrestrial organization. And there's a scene where Colin Firth is like, "Oh, her and him, they're with him right now." But they have like photos of all the employees who weren't present that day. It's like, was that really necessary? Like, there's a pattern. 12 employees are missing, and you didn't realize they're all together. Like, kind of, like this is me kind of acknowledging there's a lot wrong with the movie. But I don't know. I think it's just a matter of me giving a lot of forgiveness for this movie, just because I think what it came down to for me is I enjoyed the sequences. I enjoyed the scenes. I had a lot of fun with the kind of the structure of the film.
Yeah, I think, the car chase is actually a good example of what I said, because the car chase overall is done very well. Like, it's fun. It's shot well. But then it has something goofy like that insert that just takes you out of it.
No, that's fair.
That's kind of the story of the rest of the movie. Yeah, there's good stuff at times, but then something goofy or dumb happens, and you just go like, "Why?"
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think.
Yeah,
go ahead. Sorry. No, I'm sorry. Go.
I was literally just like, genuinely, I was going to kind of give my closing thoughts on the movie. So, do you have anything to say before?
Mine's kind of closing thought too. I was just going to say, like, okay. I kind of know I'm in the wrong for liking this movie, but I have no shame. I vibe with it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. But what are your closing thoughts, though?
I wanted to say, like, all the different things I just mentioned in the movie that I didn't like, were all these weird things. Oh, before I get to my closing thoughts, I have to give a shout out to one of the wildest opening shots for a major studio film I've seen in a while.
No, I agree.
That was wild. It opens at a wrestling match. I mean, I guess it's a POV shot, right?
Yeah, some guy getting his foot, like a foot in his face.
Slammed, pounded in a wrestling match. It's just a crazy opening. And it was like, I knew right then, I was like, that's a choice,
I agree. That was really weird.
Okay. Anyway, so I think that the end of the film encapsulates, I think, kind of an underlying bones of the film, which which is fine. Maybe this is what he really wants to convey, but it felt like such a naive outlook on things. Like, oh, the aliens have arrived, and guess what? They're all good. They're happy. They're flawless. They're highly evolved, more highly evolved than us. They know what we need is to tap more into our empathy, because that's what's our superpower, or whatever BS they're trying to say. It's like, and it just in certain hands you could convey that message that doesn't come off in an overly cheesy way, but in this movie, it came off as just this is just naive. Like, don't get me wrong. I want to go to the movies for escapism to a degree. But at the same time, it's like, look at the world around you. That is not what would happen if an alien was revealed
I agree.
alive, So to be real, like it's just like, really, like, this is just this, we talk about like how, for a movie to feel grounded, and like a compliment is like grounded in that it adheres to the rules of the world it takes place in. And the thing is, with Disclosure Day, they very much try to make it seem like it's the world we're in, and they don't adhere to those rules.
Yeah, that's fair. It doesn't help. There's like a scene where they go to like a gas station and it's like being raided, with like supplies. That I heard this in a podcast, but it's like really true. Like, it felt very like COVID energy, like there's like scenes like that. It's like, okay, yeah, this is reminding us that it does take place in this world. Whether that was intentional or not, I feel like it might have been, just because it was so recent, the COVID pandemic, and just kind of seeing that happen again. But I agree. In that same podcast, I heard like this movie probably would have worked better if it happened in the 90s, like not released in the 90s, but if it was set in a different time period rather than this current era, it could have, I don't know.
Well, So yeah, so funny you brought that up. So I think also one of the things that made this movie suffer for me was I watched Close Encounters of the Third Kind about a week before I saw it for the first time, and I really enjoy Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I don't think it's like a masterpiece, but I think it's really fun. Really gets that sense of wonder, and I think handles the themes in a very like the idea of aliens like making first contact in a very like grounded way in terms of how it affects the characters around them. And it just, I think that didn't help Disclosure Day because it highlighted all the things Disclosure Day did worse that Close Encounters did better. And Close Encounters really gives off this like more hopeful vision, much like kind of like Disclosure Day is trying to do, but comes off in a much more grounded way and less about the mechanics of like, oh, aliens are here. And it's more about like, okay, if the aliens arrived in this particular way, what is a reasonable everyman's reaction to it? You know, and it does that very well in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It doesn't feel authentic at all in Disclosure Day when the aliens are revealed, and you know,
so the thing for me, this is kind of my closing thought too. I think for me, which is kind of the opposite of what you're saying, I recently saw Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I recently saw E.T. I saw War of the Worlds not recently. I saw that back in 2023. According to Letterboxd, that's the last time I saw it. I've enjoyed all four of his Alien movies, five if you count Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, you know, but that's like besides the point. I kind of like these different variations of what it would be like to encounter aliens. So I think that's kind of why I enjoy it. I'm like, oh, this is like just a different take on his approach on aliens. I will say the idea of like optimism and aliens coming to Earth and like how people handle that. E.T. and this movie, Disclosure Day, they're definitely the most similar in the sense like, oh, like, you know, empathy and acceptance and all that. E.T. does it way better, even though that's like more of a kid's movie, like easily, like there's no question about that. But I don't know. Again, I know I'm in the wrong for like this movie, but I think it comes down to me just enjoying that. I know it's not the right word. I just can't think of a better word, but I enjoy that whimsical nature of this movie that I feel like was absent in Spielberg's films. I enjoy kind of this different take on aliens in our world. So, and that's the thing too. My closing thought is like, I'm giving it like a 6 out of 10. I would be open to watching again. Maybe if my like parents want to see it and I'm with them, I'll watch it with them. But I do have the fear where like, I'm not going to like it on a second viewing. So that's kind of like why.
so again,
what was
solidify that should be a 5 of 10, like I have it.
But
and
again,
honestly, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, I did enjoy my experience. Like, you know, I could see myself when this movie is like available on digital and certain scenes end up being on YouTube. I could definitely see myself like rewatching a lot of these scenes just because I enjoyed it. I mean, the car sequence alone, yeah, you know, there's flaws with that scene on its own, but I still had fun with that scene. I could definitely watch it again. Kind of the scene where she's at the, I'm talking about Emily Blunt is at the news station and she starts like freaking out. I kind of got like anxiety based off that scene. I would love to kind of see that scene. Like again, I mean,
Emily Blunt is very, you know, she's a great performer. So, you know, she has natural charisma too. That kind of draws you in.
Yeah. I think I just enjoyed a lot of these scenes. You know, I enjoyed scenes that I ultimately just ended up, they kind of built up for me to enjoy the movie as a whole. So I don't know. That's my stance. I recommend it. I enjoyed it quite a bit, but again, I know I'm in the wrong for that. It's a hot take.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I genuinely feel like my 5 of 10 rating is charitable in some ways, which is, yeah, I don't know. Like it's funny to me. So
no, it's fun. It's fun. I think 5 is like I said, I think that's where I may lean more towards it on a second viewing. But as of right now, as it's replaying my head, there's a lot of stuff I remember. So I enjoyed it. That's where I am.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was something. I can, in good conscience, recommend it.
That's fair.
I will disclose that the movie is not very good.
Yeah, the story could have been better.
Yes.
Yeah, stories could always be better.
Spielberg be slipping. I hope this is, given that the man is nearly 80, I hope he has many more good movies in him. Because I would hate for this to be the one that he caps
I'm
off
afraid we're
with.
never going to see another like Jurassic Park or Raiders Lost. I think that's like done. I think
You
we're
know,
done with that.
there's still glimpses, I think, of that Spielberg in there. So I'm never gonna say never.
Yeah, you're right though, because when I saw this, I'm like, yeah, it's almost there, but it's not quite. I don't know. He might be a little too old.
Yeah, you know, and maybe just needs a better script, screenwriter for him, and maybe not be as close to the subject matter as he is. So
I think his movies will be way much better if he kind of stripped back the resources that he has and kind of like did what he used to do. You know, like not a Jaws, but you know, kind of like
more low key.
Yeah, definitely
practical effect driven. Yeah, the CG one last postscript. The CGI is atrocious in some scenes. Absolutely atrocious.
Was there CGI? I thought it was pretty cool that they like brought on like animal trainers and brought the deer and the fox on set. Those were pretty impressive.
You know, I was wrong. Clearly, it's fantastic CGI. You were fooled. I don't know what I was looking at.
No, it was pretty bad. It was really bad, actually.
It was bad.
To put that in the trailer was insulting, but
yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. We've disclosed enough about Disclosure Day.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our final film that we're going to talk about. It's a franchise film. Summer tends to be littered with franchise films. It's a film that I dreaded a little bit because I hated the previous entry in the franchise. But you know what? It charmed me nonetheless. It was that old franchise, that old friendly franchise, Toy Story. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Great build-up.
And yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on Toy Story 5?
I liked it. So I'm just gonna kind of give a quick little I guess what's a word? I guess like
overview,
quick
summary.
No, I guess like a cautionary thing. I was forgiving for Disclosure Day. I know everything I'm about to say for Toy Story 5 is almost contradicting my thought process, like in many ways. I don't know why that is, but there's a lot of.
I saw both your reviews. I have some thoughts.
Yeah, we'll get into it, but But my thoughts on Toy Story 5. Here's the thing. I like Toy Story. You know, you and I grew up on it. We have friends who are also like huge in love with it. My roommate kind of makes fun of me. She's like, "Oh, you're a Toy Story freak or whatever." I kind of am.
You kick her out. Get her out of here.
It's a long story.
You don't need her. You can pay the rest of the rent yourself. You don't need her. Get her out.
Levi Strauss, like the denim company, they had like a collaboration with Toy Story. They had these like very neat denim pants. Like in the cuffs, you have like the Woody cow pattern, and I thought that was cool. But I didn't realize like in the pocket, it's just like a giant logo that says Toy Story. And I'm like, I'm not going to wear that. That's like crazy. But and that kind of like that's been haunting me since this day. My friends keep reminding me that I almost bought these pairs of pants. But anyways, it's a newest entry. Kind of something that should have been addressed a while ago. But yeah, kind of like how today kids are more drawn to tech, and that's kind of like the new plaything.
Yeah, I'll push real quick. Sorry, I know you're getting into your thoughts, but I'll push back a little bit on that. I think it was an appropriate time to address it. One, because they didn't rush it, and then two. Geez, I'm mixing up my listings. Anyway, two, I think that problem of screen time just kind of taking over all of our lives to one degree or another, to unhealthy degrees. It really metastasized during the COVID lockdowns. in the period after Toy Story 4, and has, I think, now kind of finally reached the point where people are like aware enough, like, oh yeah, there's a problem here. So I think it's actually coming at a pretty good time to address the subject, personally.
Okay, that's fair. I guess what I was trying to say is like, okay, that's very valid. So I'm taking my words back. But I feel like this movie definitely couldn't come out in 2019 when Toy Story 4 came out. Just because I feel like, kids were still using tech at that time, but you're right. It's more noticeable and it got amplified with the COVID lockdown for sure. But I don't know. I guess a quick summary. Yeah. So, I mean, does it really need a summary? I don't know. But the kid Bonnie in the movie, like the Toys' new owner, gets an iPad called a Lily Pad, and she becomes obsessed with that. And now the toys are trying to find value within themselves now that kids are more drawn to tech. And that's
a few toys mournfully wail that the age of toys is over.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks. Great way of wording that. Given that message and theme of the story, I felt like I kind of wanted it. I wanted a little bit more of that, and I feel like we didn't quite get that. But the thing is, overall, I did have a lot of fun with the movie. I was enjoying it in the moment. I love the universe so much. I love Buzz. I love Woody. I love all that. But I don't know. I think I was enjoying the moment, but after the movie, I kind of felt a little like I wanted more out of it. I think that's what it comes down to. I kind of would have liked them to address a little bit more of the tech issues. It felt like they took a very neutral stance on it, though. That's kind of where I'm at,
Which I mean, speaking for myself, I think it's an appropriate stance. I don't think you can recognize that there are issues and not immediately go to the extreme of like every single screen is bad, or that there aren't uses for it. It's a tool. Like anything, it can be abused.
No, for sure. It's just, I guess they're almost like, I don't know if it was like maybe an issue, maybe me misreading the marketing, but I was kind of like wondering where they were going to go with this. Like maybe, were they actually going to address like kids should play with toys more? But I don't know. I was also kind of like disappointed with the whole, just the way they handle technology. Like there's like 3 new characters. There's like a hippo phone thing. There is a toilet paper toy thing and like a camera. It's kind of funny how these came out. Smarty Pants, yeah.
Like, voiced by Conan O'Brien.
Yeah. Funny, we talked about him earlier with If I Had Legs I'd Kick You. But
sure, he's a rising star.
Yeah. Very low key actor, great actor. But the way they all those 3 pieces of technology were like communicating with each other, and like they had and they were able to send messages. I thought that was like where is this coming from? Like Pixar, who once had Steve Jobs as a CEO, is like kind of creating this bullshit that a toilet paper toy could like send a message to a laptop or like an iPad and like, hey, have your toys. I thought that was.
I don't know. I mean, I get your point. That's one of those things. Like I would be like, it's just a movie. I'm not gonna. It doesn't. It's not so egregious to where it's like that's impossible. It's like it's just improbable. But it is possible. So.
But it was like a lot of that kind of build-up that kind of took me out of the movie. Again, Pixar is very conscious with like, well, even Disney as a whole, about being safe with the children and like what they're showing on screen. Like if you remember like Lilo and Stitch. There's this like the original scene was like Lilo crawling into a washing machine when she's hiding from her older sister, but in the recut they changed it to like a pizza box because they don't want kids climbing into a washing machine. In this movie, there's like a scene it's like, hey, I have your toys, you should come and pick them up. Like you don't think they were going to dress like it? Yeah, maybe you shouldn't like go to a stranger's house. You should go to a stranger's house like pick up toys, and that's not like really an issue, but it was like a lot of this like kind of misunderstanding of like internet culture and technology that kind of took me out of the movie.
Interesting.
But yeah.
That's interesting because that was one of my concerns going into the film was that, it could quickly devolve into like an old man ranting about screens, It's like, kids these days, they don't get outside. They don't, they don't play. It could have easily devolved into that. And it didn't, thankfully. So it's interesting you're saying that when I didn't really think about that, maybe there is still kind of an outdated or old way of looking at tech through the movie. I get that. I guess it still doesn't bug me as much because it doesn't really hinder the story's themes at all. And it supports it in a way that's good. Like it's a strong supporting backbone for the story, and it doesn't come off very cringe.
I will say this. I think I'm being a little too nasty with the movie, though. Like there were things I liked about it for sure, but I think I am coming a little more nasty. Like you talk about the movie, like you express your thoughts. I want to hear them.
Yeah, let me bring some order, some sanity to this podcast. Let's talk about the greatness of Toy Story 5.
No, like literally, please. Like I feel like I'm beating this movie too much.
I'm being facetious. No, so I rewatched Toy Story 1 and 2 earlier in the year, and then I watched 3 and 4 this last week in preparation for 5. 3 naturally just made me go, oh, why didn't they leave it here? It was such a perfect ending, It was like as good of an ending as you could get. Why? And then I watched 4, and I was curious with 4 because I hadn't seen it since the theaters, and I was like, I wonder if I'll revisit this, because my movie tastes have evolved since then. I was like, oh, maybe I'll like it this time. Not the case. 5 minutes in, I was already being like, oh, yeah, this sucks. So I still watched it. I raised it an extra half star rating-wise, though, to reflect the animation. I gave more credit to that than I did previously. But all that to say is, like, I was watching Toy Story 5 with the bitter taste of Toy Story 4 still in my mouth, so to speak. And I think the very fact that the characters all felt like themselves, at least the main characters, the side characters, which I'll get into, don't have as much to do in this movie. But the main characters, Woody, Buzz, Jesse, they all seem like themselves in this film. Like they seem normal, whereas in the Toy Story 4, they come off less than authentic based on their previous characterization. And so that was a big win. It was like, okay, these are familiar characters. They're acting the way I would expect them to act, based on the previous films. And it's just fun. It felt like a very familiar but comfortable glove being put on. The thing is, it doesn't, I think just by nature of it being Toy Story 5, not Toy Story 1, not Toy Story 2, not Toy Story 3. It's just a working uphill battle in that, you can explore, kind of similar themes from different angles, like this film does with the tech angle, but you can't, it's not fresh really in any way. It's just new packaging. It's still fun. It's still familiar. It's close enough to what you remember to where it's still entertaining, but it's not like super fresh. It doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, this is one of the greatest movies. Like I didn't feel like I felt emotional again after watching Toy Story 3. I was like, man, this was so good. I didn't feel that at all in Toy Story 5. Like I was like, oh, that's cute or that's sweet, internally. But it wasn't like anything I felt being moved to tears or close to tears for with that. I do want to say, just on a broader entertainment level, the movie is very entertaining. It's pretty funny, has a lot of fun jokes. The film does suffer from relegating some of the side characters to even more background than usual, like Mr. Potato Head, like Ham, like Slinky. Now, the unfortunate answer to that is just some of those actors are dead. RIP. And some of them are just getting very, very old at this point, you know? So it's not even like necessarily the movie's fault, but every time Mr. Potato Head spoke, which was barely anything, I couldn't help but be like, oh, that's not Mr. Potato Head, you know, because he's got such a voice. Ed Asner had such a distinct voice and tone to his portrayal, Mr. Potato Head. It was like, you know, like, so rip Ed, but also like it was just like, oh man, you know, because the 1 through 3 have that very much that structure of, yeah, we're following the kind of the main dramatic stakes with Woody and Buzz, or in Toy Story 2's case, Jesse, you know, as well. But you always have the comic relief in Mr. Potato Head and Ham and, you know, the rest of the crew. And it's always, yeah, it's always funny. I don't want to go off too much on, but it's like some of the funniest lines in the original 3 are by those characters, because it's just the perfect, like, sarcastic one-liner to break up kind of the seriousness of something else going on. And it just was missing that. So there was a lot of moments like that in this film that just didn't have the same zing to them because they just didn't use those characters. Now, I'll say this on the flip side, they could have very easily in this day and age been like, oh, let's just do AI and fill in the gaps of the voices. You know, that would sound right, but would that really be right? And will we be happy with that? Probably not. So I guess better this than the other thing.
It was at the end of the movie where, so the fact that you said the actor's name who played Mr. Potato Head, I know you definitely know these people more than I do. I remember by the end of the movie, Mrs. Potato Head, she's like playing the organ and she like kind of gives a side eye to the camera. I remember thinking like, wait a second, you didn't say a single word throughout this whole movie. And that's because she passed away, the actress. Which kind of begs the question, like, I agree with you.
And I'm sorry, I said Ed Asner. Don Rickles was Mr. Potato Head. My bad.
See, I would have known that, but that's fair. Give credit where credit is due. It kind of begs the question, like, yeah, so where do we?
Ed Asner voiced Carl in Up. That's why I had him in my brain.
Gotcha.
But it was Don Rickles, equally a legend.
I'm like trying to think how I could tackle what my comment is. I guess I'll begin with like one, like, does it beg the question, like, yeah, I know, like, you know, these actors are dead, but can't you, and I know like the voice, like the actual, like literal, like, I think the word is like timbre, like the actual sounding of their voice is kind of what brought them to life. Like, is there a way to keep these characters alive by just recasting people? I don't know. It maybe not. I don't know. But I mean,
they did. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's hard because I mean, they did technically recast Mr. Potato Head, and he has lines in the movie. There's just not very many, and it's just like, oh, that's not Mr. Potato Head, you know. So I don't know if you could say that they didn't try. It's just, you know, maybe it's just not out there. It might just not be easy to replace Don Rickles' voice, which, hey, credit to Don Rickles. He had a very distinct voice.
But then that kind of brings up to the other point I want to bring, like, does that justify the fact to like reduce these characters, like to basically do nothing? I kind of noticed that's like an issue with these movies as they keep going on. Because you said like Woody and Buzz, like they're still the core characters, like for sure they're in this movie and they have a good chunk of time. And this very much is like Jesse's movie, right? But I think all these characters have completed their arcs already. That like Woody and Buzz like aren't even really like, yeah, they're essential to the story, but they also kind of get reduced to like a background character. Even with Jesse to some extent in Toy Story 4. I know you saw it recently. There's a scene where Jesse and Bo like reunite, and Jesse like hugs Bo. He's like, "Oh, Bo, like nice to see you." Same thing with Mr. Potato Head. I'm like, you didn't say a single word through this whole movie until like right now. Like what's happening? And I know it's like not really fair to criticize this movie for that, for like, you know, it's just like so many characters now. It's hard to give them all of them screen times.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
I think it's such a shame that like, you know, Slinky and Rex and all these like beloved characters are just like kind of reduced to nothing at this point, because they're like, you know, their story arcs, you know, they didn't really have a story arc, but like there's nothing really else to explore with them, which is kind of a shame. I'm not really bashing the movie for that reason. But I think for that reason, these movies are never going to be as good as the original trilogy. And at this point, I'm kind of okay with Toy Story. Just like, I mean, they kind of ruined it already with Toy Story 4, right? Like they ended it. It's like make 100 more for all I care at this point. Right? I mean, come on. But
I guarantee a sixth one is going to come out. No question in my mind. Now with the box office results, and I saw the director said like on the red carpet, like, oh yeah, we've done an Andy trilogy. Now we're do a Bonnie trilogy. You know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I kind of see. That's why I'm also kind of forgiving with Toy Story 4. I did see that one recently, and I kind of enjoyed it more. I kind of see this as like a new trilogy almost. Like I'm like, you know what, like fuck it. If Marvel's doing like different phases or different like sagas, then let Toy Story do the same, I guess.
I mean, look, here's the thing. If you are somebody who hates Toy Story 4, Toy Story 5, and whatever they do for Toy Story 6, you can still watch Toy Story 1 through 3, and nothing can ruin that for you. It's left there perfectly. You can be like, that's it. I don't need to watch anymore. So in that sense, yeah, it's timeless to a degree, but it is a shame, especially since Pixar for so long was very like high quality. I mean, they kind of started falling apart before like Marvel and Star Wars did, and talking about Disney franchise or Disney studios that were acquired properties that, kind of started to disintegrate once they were under Disney proper and being pushed to pump out more and more content. So I hear what you're saying. I think, I gave it a 7. I feel like it was a win that I walked out of the theater with that. I was laughing, I was entertained. I didn't hate what didn't come out of the theater shaking my fist at the sky saying, curse you, Toy Story. Like I was like, oh, that was fun. I would see it again, and it's like, it's something that there's still going to be some fun parts. I'll probably be like, oh, I'd watch that again, at some point and still be fun. Toy Story 4, I don't know if I can, but I probably will at some point or another just because I'm a completist. But I that was painful. Toy Story 5 was fun, which, just a quick shout out, great payoff, which I didn't even think about it until they did it. But really great payoff, spoiler warning, to the Buzz flying, like weaving that in with tech. That was like a great addition. It was like, oh yeah, that makes complete sense that they would do something like that. That's fun.
Yeah. That put a smile on my face for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think for me, again, like I enjoyed it in the moment. I loved the movie, satisfied, but I don't know. Like in the end, it just kind of felt a little bit more hollow than I was hoping for. I think this might just be a result of me like just having such a big place in my heart for the original trilogy. I don't know. This just wasn't quite what I wanted. I still enjoyed it. I'm kind of like in the middle of like a 6 and a 5, probably closer to a 6, honestly, than like a normal neutral 5. But I don't know. I definitely enjoyed it more than Toy Story 4 upon on my first initial watch. But I don't know. It didn't quite do it for me. But
it just sucked, Jose. No. Say that. No.
How would you rank the movies?
Oh, of Toy Story.
Yeah.
Well, obviously Lightyear, number 1.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. Real quickly, thank you for bringing that up. I think it's so funny how I haven't seen it yet, Lightyear, but in that movie, like
neither have I. Yeah.
But the spoiler, right? Like,
yeah, I know. I thought the same thing.
It's a clone of Buzz or something like that. In Lightyear, like, oh, okay, well, you kind of retcon Toy Story 2. But in this movie, they still acknowledge the fact, like, oh yeah, Zurg is our father. I'm like, so why aren't you guys being consistent? Like, why? Like, I thought that was really annoying for me. That really kind of bugged me.
I agree.
Yeah. But anyways, sorry, your rankings.
I would say It's tough because 1 and 2 are like so equal to me, and I think 3 is a masterpiece in its own way as well. I would probably say for me, Toy Story 2,
Okay.
Toy Story 3, and then Toy Story 5, and then Toy Story 4. And the gap between 5 and 4 is leagues.
Okay. So, okay, yeah, I agree. That's fair. I think I'm kind of similar with you then. I think for me it's, I don't know. I think 3 is like the best, honestly. I think I love 3. I think that just like that's a kind of, before 4 came out, that was like kind of peak animation for me. I'm like, this kind of makes sense. Like from where we started to here is like perfect, especially considered as a trilogy. But anyways, for me it's 3, then 2, then 1, then 5, and then 4. Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I have a lot of people who disagree with me on my ranking of 2 as number 1. So.
I mean, I will say the way that you said like 4 and 5 is like, leagues. For me, 2 and 3 are actually like very, very close to each other.
Yeah.
Like it's, I love 2. I love 2.
It's fair. Well, wrapping up.
Let's wrap up. Yeah.
Toy Story 5. Worst scene? Yes. Go see it. Go support your theaters. Go see all those movies, good, bad, and ugly.
Despite me being grumpy,
go see them all.
Yeah, I would recommend it. Yeah.
Yeah, go see them all. Or see Obsession for the 20th time. It doesn't matter. Just go see a movie. Support your local theaters. And with that, I, your host, Sam Karpinski, along with my co-host, Mr. Jose Mendoza, a friend indeed, signing off for another episode
a friend in me.
Of Popcorn and Pictures.
You've
always got a friend in this podcast, folks. That's it.
Nice.